Beautiful. We are beginning on this beautiful morning. I have beside me here the wonderful Lotfi Emrad. He has a community he calls intuitiv.me. You can see it there at the bottom of his name. Lotfi and I have been talking for a fairly long time, and we discuss a lot of stuff around awakening through sexuality and the concepts. And he's here to share some of his perspectives on healing our sexual centers and the philosophies that he uses and how he supports women, etc. So I will begin by letting Lotfi introduce himself in a little more detail, and we'll go from there. Good morning, Lotfi.
Good afternoon to you.
Oh yes, and tell us where you're in. So
My name is Lotfi Murad, and you can see it in the screen. It's actually, I don't know if it's in the live visible.
yeah.
I'm located in Romania at this moment. I live here now for 6 years, so that's why it's afternoon for me. It's 6:15. And like Paul said, intuitiv.me, that's my brand. It's how you find me actually on all the platforms. It's intuitiv.me without the E. So it's spelled the Romanian way, simply because intuitive with an E was already taken by somebody who's not even using it. And the choice came because I realized all my work is intuitive actually. So I actually spent a few hours sitting with a brand specialist to come up with a name, and it didn't come up. And then one day it just came. It was like, yeah, how do you actually work? Yeah, with intuition. And I've been using that in all areas of coaching. I mean, I started coaching from the mind in 2007, but then when I started to awaken my intuition more, this changed. And the areas I started to coach in also started to diversify. And I'm here on the call today because we've been talking a lot about sexuality, sexual wounds. And that's also one of the areas I've been pushed into by life. And now also the coaching became consciously, because I've been doing it unconsciously, also directed into, and oriented on sexuality, on sexual wounds, on being free within yourself and with your sexuality, and from there also in your sexual relationships. And it's not per se just about having sex. It starts with the self and the balancing of the male and the female energy within ourselves, and then within the relationship, and of course with somebody who's doing the same. Otherwise you're talking one language, the other person talking another language. And people start to come more and more on my path who actually have something that they want to resolve in that area, and they're not always aware of it until they meet me. And then at certain moments, like, hey Lotfi, can I ask you something? And then I just sense like, okay, here's coming, okay. And then they start sharing things like, okay, so and then I start to see that, and I'm very happy that I can see that, because my background is like most men. When sexuality is in the air, I used to like, oh, let's have sex. And that's, I call that the caveman behavior. It's the limbic brain, it's the basic thing. But maybe somebody finds you attractive, but actually you're not attracted to that person at all. But then most men still want to have sex because that's how, animals actually behave. Like, we need to reproduce, we need to spread our genes. But it can also be that there is just sexual energy in the air and has nothing to do with the people around you. You're totally by yourself and you feel all this excitement. And then, if you start asking your friends and like, also today also I was very horny and I felt all this energy, and like, okay, it was collective. Okay, fine. Because sometimes I'm like, where's this coming from? I haven't talked to anybody yet today, and it is all, rushing through my body. But this happens with all kinds of energies, and it takes some awareness to become aware of this and to decipher and see the differences between what's happening. And it all started 2 years ago when I became conscious of actually what was happening, like just sitting in the park with a woman talking, each of us leaning on a tree, and then feeling all these sensations in my body. Was like, what is this? Where is this coming from? And then someone like, I felt like, whoa, this is absolutely not mine. This is hers. And I had no clue what to do with that, so I didn't say anything. But then the next day we talked, and then yeah, we discussed it. And I was like, okay, so there was confirmation. And then I had that again when talking with somebody, feeling certain things, and then slowly I started to actually understand what my second chakra was telling me. Generally, when people, the second chakra starts talking, we have no clue what it's saying. We just like, oh, need to have sex. So we jump on the man or the woman in front of us and like, oh, let's have sex. And then someone's like, what are you doing? Or something like, oh yeah, me too, because they feel the vibration. And then afterwards, like, next to who are you in the morning? Okay, I never had that, luckily, but I did have sometimes like, okay, it was nice, bye. Because it was not a connection. It was just, there was energy and we had no clue what we were doing. And that's actually sad, because if you are aware, you can actually, if you're on the same frequency, you can actually experience something beautiful in merging the energies and let it flow through you, and then beautiful things start to happen. And most couples are even experiencing that.
Yeah,
they're just like, yeah, yeah. That's why men fell asleep afterwards, because it's empty sex. They're just exhausted. They literally dump their energy. And I can tell you, when you really make love through the heart, you will not sleep for the coming 5-6 hours, and you can even spend 48 hours with that orgasmic energy in you. No need for sex at all.
Yeah,
because it's going through you, and definitely not exhausted. So yeah, so that's what I started to discover, and yeah, it's really beautiful to work with that. I mean, also work with everything that comes before that, the wounds, the fears, the blockages, to actually be able to get to what I just described, which is like I know a few times I made love in my life. I know that it happened. I can remember a few seconds of it, but I have a total blank for the rest. But I do remember how I felt and how I felt afterwards. Because you go completely out of here into your body. There's no mind involved. There's no like technique and doing this or that. No, what needs to happen is happening. It's all in flow. There is no pain involved. There is no fear involved. There is no must, no nothing. It's just things happen. And it's irrelevant what's happening physically, because it's about how you feel. And it's very beautiful. If you know the movie Intouchables, or Intouchable is the original name. It's a French movie with this guy in the wheelchair. Because he's paralyzed from here down, he gets orgasms by just being massaged here. And I don't know if he was supposed to have an ejaculation or not, but the feeling of orgasm, because it's not about per se just the having fluids flowing around, because an orgasm can be also totally energetic. Also experience that, which is like, oh wow, this happened the first time, like, huh, what? And I'm happy the first time having that, because I didn't have a condom around. So it was perfect for that moment, and it was a very nice discovery. And yeah, so there is a lot possible. You just need to have the courage to look yourself in the mirror and start discovering what's actually inside you that wants to come out, what you really want to experience. And we all have fears, we all have blockages, we all got hit with a stick at a certain moment in our lives, especially when it comes to sexuality. And if not for that, then there is the general pressure from the taboo in society that I still can feel sometimes. I don't feel it at this moment. I'm astonished, actually, because I felt it on Sunday. But once we have the courage to deal with those, there's, yeah, sky is not even the limit, sky is where it starts. And that is my goal at this moment, to help people, both men and women, but it's mainly women coming on my path at this moment, to reach that freedom. And step by step, start slowly, it's fine. You don't need to do everything in the coming few hours or few days. No, step by step. But every time taking that one more step into your freedom is opening space, and you can literally feel, you can breathe. There's more space in your lungs, literally. You can breathe because you're free to move, to be yourself, not to be ashamed of who you are. Like people are always covering. If we were supposed to be covered, like they say in belief systems, in religions, in politics, whatever, we would have been born covered. We're not. So why do we need to be ashamed of our bodies?
So maybe comment on the importance of our sexuality as normalized human beings and why it's so important to heal these things and to shift these energies out of our centers.
Yeah, it's all about energies, but that's not what we've been taught. We've been taught to be in here, and here is no energy. It's just like facts and numbers, and you do this, you do that. That's good, that is bad. I mean, mostly is bad. Most things are bad, and there are a few good things, and preferably things that somebody can benefit from. And so, yeah, society just, let's say, interesting. There are interesting energies at play in society, and the challenge is actually to step out of that and step into your true power, which is being you, being yourself, being authentic. And you do not need to fight with anybody for that. You just need to accept yourself. And some people will walk away from you, and that's fine, because they will create space for other people to come in your life who actually resonate with you and appreciate you for who you are. Probably without even wearing makeup, probably without even doing your hair or dressing up nicely. They will just love you for who you are, because they connect with you, the true you in here. And the naked beaches, at least my experience in the Netherlands and what I've seen on TV from Germany has the same. People are there, they're not having orgies or anything, they're just being themselves with no shame. And what you see is a lot of people actually have scars, injuries, whatever, these things that people are ashamed of and they're ashamed to show in society, but then there they feel free to just be themselves. And I've experienced that ultimate freedom also on the beach, even when going on holiday to Bulgaria. Just like in the Netherlands, you go left or right and you walk for half an hour, 45 minutes. At a certain moment there's nobody left, and then there you just undress, and you will notice that the people still walking there, most of them are naked as well, just to be one with nature and experiencing that, even if you're scared, because the first time I was scared too, and those people I took with me were also scared. But once you experience that, it's just acceptance. And that's an amazing feeling. And I know for a fact a lot of people enjoy to be naked at home during summer. And they will not say this out loud, most of them. But yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people are like, but okay, nobody's watching when I'm nodding now, right? Because there's still this taboo thing, but it feels so free, so liberating.
So it's a freedom that they've chosen in their root and sacral and even up into the solar plexus that has been blocked by societal shaming, norms, whatever, that keeps us trapped in our body, and we can't have our self-expression. We can't walk in the beauty of our energy exactly the way it is, because we're trying to be something that you believe that everybody expects you to be, right? Not fat, don't have wrinkles, don't have flab, don't have an erection that goes off to the left, or something like that, which is all little things that we self-judge ourselves inside. So when we can find that palette or the canvas, a nude beach where we can now go and paint ourselves and just let that out, And it's so nice because it's an anonymity. You go to a nude beach and most people don't know you and they're not going to see you. So it allows us to step out. But what you're teaching is to get that space more inside of them without those extra things, right? How do you understand yourself? How do you feel yourself? And how does that change a person once they get able to express on their canvas without the shames?
Yeah, you can start doing it today. I mean, even with lockdowns, whatever, you can just do it by being with yourself.
So how would you do
Just
that?
look yourself in the mirror,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And yeah, the first time you look, and like I now I'm 48, and then sometimes I have a belly. Depends if I've done my exercise, if I've eaten a lot, and then I'm like, oh. And then later I'm like, if somebody is reading, I'm like, you have a small belly. I'm like, okay, if that's a turn off for you, then clearly you don't like me for who I am. I mean, come on, it's if that's the worst thing, then you really focus only on physical aspects, and I don't even want to. I cannot connect actually with somebody who's only looking at the physical, who's only in the 3D, who has no soul connection or interaction. Or when people say, yeah, but I only like when a man is like at least 190, needs to be blonde, blue eyes, and needs to have a big dick. I'm like, okay. But I didn't hear anything about personality, character, big heart, or no, it's like all of that. Like, okay, just don't complain if you end up with guys who use you or who dump you after a quick fuck, or who don't treat you with respect, or whatever other crap you get in your life, because you're not looking for the real stuff. You're looking for the surface. You don't look for the inward. So yeah, that's why so many people are having trouble. And you see that always. Movies are programming this as well. Like, oh, she's sad, but oh, she's so beautiful. Why is she sad? So who gives a fuck if she's physically beautiful or not? And because she's physically beautiful, she should not suffer.
Yeah.
She should be happy.
Physical beauty is what? Programming. It's a thing
Yes.
that we've chosen and been programmed into us of what we want. And honestly, how many of us actually receive that person, that thing that's on a pedestal you never achieve, right? So, and how are you going to know any better if that's your dream? How can you open to the possibility of a short, a little bit fat man to come into your life and he's your twin flame or twin soul? You'll never choose that person because you've judged. And that judgment is what takes away the flow of the universe and the possibility.
And you see that often, that there is this person and that people put the person in the friend zone, and they're still looking for this ideal guy or ideal woman there, which they can never get, and that other person is there and is suffering, and at a certain moment that other person meets somebody else because that person has decided, like, okay, I'm gonna let go of you because clearly you don't want to see me. And then it's like, something is wrong, but you don't know what, but you can feel that something is wrong. And you can simply avoid this by being here. Just connect from here with people. And for me, there is no other way of connecting with people, just through here. For friendships, for even with colleagues, or I'm following certain courses now, I connect from here. There's no other way. And that's when you get genuine interaction. That's when you get genuine feedback. You get the truth. And that's when you achieve much more at work, in your friendships, in your love relationship, with your parents, with your kids. Connect from here. And once you do that, you will also realize, like, yeah, sex without connecting from here is empty, is dead. So you also want to do it while making love. Well, that's a big difference between fucking and making love, is heart is involved or not. And I've done a lot of the first one until I realized, until I actually could open my heart, started connecting with myself, and then I was like, oh wow, that's different. That's the next level. And it doesn't cost me energy anymore. I'm not exhausted afterwards. I don't need 5 times a day anymore. because one time is enough for 48 hours even, because I get all that feeling, or I don't even need to penetrate. I just need to lay and hold each other, for example. That is an amazing experience if you can just hold and connect. You don't even need to be lovers for that. Already when you meet a good friend, give a hug, and not the hug like, oh yeah, and then hit the person just like, oh no, we're not gay, or yeah, it's just like, oh, I need to be cool. No, hug for real. Try to hug for 10 seconds. I had a group who were working on the gene keys like this, and the majority of the group on meeting was a real hug. We would meet once every 2 weeks, a real hug, and I felt really good. With some people, I really felt a relaxation. With other people, I felt energy build up. Other people, I felt what they were going through, and it was amazing. It's like really connecting with each other. It's just like when dogs meet, they sniff each other. It's actually checking out the person. Wolves, they lick in the other one in the mouth, and they get all the information from that. They know how that other wolf or even the human is feeling, what's going on, if he's sick or not. And a good hug actually transmits also a lot. Plus, it warms up the heart.
And how long does that?
And that's why this whole social distancing is damaging us. I hear regularly from people, yeah, I haven't seen anyone for a long time, and oh, I cannot really go to my parents. I don't want them to die, to get sick. And so there is no connection, there's no hugging anymore. And that's really sad. It hurts when I hear that every time. I'm like, yeah, okay, it's also those people's choice to step into fear. And the fear is also the blockers that we have when it comes to intimacy in general, but also the sexual intimacy. To come back to the subject of this call, is the fear of getting hurt again, fear of not being good enough in bed, or not to look good enough, maybe, like, yeah, but if I undress, because now I have this bra which has push up, and that's I put socks inside, or fillings, or whatever you call them. In Holland we call them chicken fillet, them inside these fill-ups, or they have all these things on the shoulders, or men sometimes literally putting some socks in their underpants to look, oh look, I have something big down there. Okay, that's really your pride. And if you're looking for something big because you cannot experience pleasure if the man is not huge, then yeah, that's a fear of connection. Because I know for a fact multiple women who have had or still have men who are not like this, but it's not an obstacle, because it's not about the size. It's about what do you do with it and how do you connect. And then what happens? They even say that the vagina, that the penis adapts to the size of the vagina once inside. So the two are communicating. So there is actually a match if there's an energetic match. So that is why when people are really connected, there is no pain. Then everything fits and everything is smooth. You also won't have the problem of, I'm dry, I need lubricant or whatever. And so there are these women that say, I'm really dry, I have a defect, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, I can tell you, if you're connected with yourself first, and then you connect with the other, that will not be an issue anymore. Because what needs to be there will be there. Which can mean that you need to go slower. Well, is there a rush? I mean, are you on a timer or so? No. Maybe you need a longer foreplay, but hey, that's actually the fun part, because most people, they cannot continue after the orgasm, which is also in here. But if you're not there yet, then start with a longer foreplay, start enjoying things. And yeah, if somebody orgasms quickly, well, take a break. You can continue after that. But don't fully disconnect, just stay together and relax and take it slow. And some people, they orgasm quick the first time. Fine, then have it. It's done. Good. Now we can go slow. We can really build up. Fine, then do that. No worries about that. I had for a very long time that I could not orgasm the first time with being with a woman. Well, once I let go of that fear, actually it was not an issue anymore. I mean, I could orgasm from the first time. But before that, when I started working on that, I was just like, I would just tell her like, hey, this may not happen, but we're still having fun and we can still do everything. And that was before all the consciousness kicking in.
Mhm.
But it's starting somewhere. It's starting by accepting like, okay, I have this condition, but I'm not going to let it stop me from connecting, from having fun, from
Mhm.
giving pleasure to somebody. But I'm not about, yeah, then it's like, oh, I'm giving you, so now you give me. I'm more like experiencing pleasure together in
Mhm.
what you do. It's better than, okay, I gave you pleasure, so now you need to give me pleasure, because that's already artificial.
Mhm.
It's pleasure just happens
So how do you
because we're
teach
going to have fun.
how do you teach these things to people? You're talking about a lot of your experience. How do you engage with people to let them find that self for themselves?
The first conscious teachings I did was women who came to me, who spontaneously started sharing things,
Mhm.
and I would guide them. There were actually two in 24 hours time, like one in the first afternoon and the other the next afternoon. Totally unrelated and unexpected. A wound on the sexual chakra I felt when they started sharing that they felt. One was like, hadn't felt the second chakra in a very long time, and the other one had a traumatic event. That was what they shared as a starting point. So I guided both of them to go to their second chakra. Um, Depending on the situation, also to go to the genitals or to go to other points in the body. But it really differs per person. I feel in the moment, that's intuitively. So it's connecting to that specific point and start feeling what's there. If there's tension, if there's pain, if you maybe see something, you smell something, you taste something, whatever it is, and then we start working from there. And the thing is to face the fear. And at a certain moment, you can step into it, and then it starts to dissolve.
Fear of what?
The fear that you feel there.
Mhm.
So the fear or the blockage or whatever it is. But generally when there is a blockage or a memory, then there is a fear of getting too close to that, because we don't want to feel the pain anymore. And then is not to be afraid and just like, okay, I acknowledge there is a fear. Do I want this fear to keep me from going further or not? And that's at the moment like, no, actually I want to face my fear. Okay, then you face the fear and you sit with it and you let that fear envelope you, so you can actually see what is the fear really about. And that's when things start to dissolve, because it's a memory, it's a story, it's a belief.
Would
It's
you
not
call it a
something that is still
trauma?
there.
It's a trauma that they have in their lower chakras that has
Yes.
been released. It's unexpressed energy. I look at them as bubbles, and they get in
Mm-hmm.
there, they get trapped, and they get piled on each other. And until you can go in there and touch it energetically, and then start to have the energy of the incident come up in a held space by you, is that the healing that you're talking of? That's what I do.
That can be it.
Mhm.
In the first case, we didn't even. I do not know what was the blockage coming from, but the woman released it
Mhm.
just by me guiding her, and she didn't need to share much. And she told me that the next day she repeated the exercise herself, and she cried a lot, and she felt free after that. And I could sense the change in her. So it really differs per person. But I'm sharing these examples now just for you to know that, yeah, you may cry for a few minutes, but I always say, give me a few minutes of pain, or maybe even a few hours of pain, instead of keep walking around with that fear and that blockage and maybe actually pain for the coming next years. It's going to be short if there is even pain. The fear, yeah, fear. We have fear every day. We have a moment of fear. So it's not that a bigger deal. Even if you think like, but it's an enormous one. Well, I'll hold space for you. I'll be there with you. Even if it's through a Zoom call or through a phone call, I've also done it like that. I'll be there and you'll feel the energy and I'll help you feel safe. And you'll create your safe space. So maybe you'll put some pillows around you or put a candle, whatever works for you. So we'll work on that to have your safe space. Maybe even feel as safe as you were in the womb of your mother. And then you can start releasing things or stepping into them and work with them. So it's really every other case is different. But at the core, it's just going back and acknowledging what's really there. And sometimes we don't need to go specifically to the memories or to repeat what happened, which I know in psychology is being done a lot, like relive, 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 relive. And of course, somebody's gonna tell you you're gonna relive the trauma another 10 times. Hell no. I mean, maybe one time, but no more when you work with me, because it's not about that. It's about releasing what that put on you, releasing that memory. So I'm not going to reinforce the memory. Just like when people go to A meetings, that, hey, my name is that and I'm an alcoholic. Well, keep reinforcing that you're an alcoholic and you'll stay an alcoholic all your life. No, release that belief. And you may even be able to drink a glass of alcohol without needing to drink more after that. I mean, I was labeled a sex addict. Well, I managed to have sex without the addiction anymore. Should I have become a monk because I was an addict, because I'm always going to be a sex addict? No, you can release it and be free of whatever addiction you have or whatever fear you have. And even if you have had 10 horrible men in your life, number 11 can be a good man. If you're open to be truly yourself, you will attract a man who's truly himself. When you heal your own wounds, you can meet a man who also healed his wounds. And that is a gentle and loving man. Yeah, he can be a tough guy, but with a heart. And he will open his heart to you, so you can open your heart to him. And then, no matter how big and how strong he is, he will not break you. You will make love, and it will be smooth and nice. Also, when you hear people who have rough sex because they need it, it's because there's a trauma there. You don't need rough sex unless you're roughing yourself up or roughing up the other because there's something there to be roughed up, because you think that's the way to do it. I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm just saying it means there is something, because you do everything for a reason. So look at the reason. Why is it what you're doing? And then, is that something you really want in your life? Totally fine. But if you're like, oh no, but this is actually a sick reason why I'm doing it, and work on that. And then see what happens after that. And again, no judgment, but just look at what is it you do and why. And not just with sex, but everything in your life. Just look at, why do you have certain behaviors? Where do they come from? And then see, do I really like that? Does that actually make me feel good? Or am I actually wasting energy by behaving in a certain way because of I was told this, or my partner expects that, or no, go back in here. And also have the conversation with your partner from here, without judgment. Open up to each other, communicate from here. That's really crucial. And yes, it may take some time, it may take some effort, but I really recommend you start working on yourself first. And maybe you're really desperate for having a partner. Well, if you have been desperate for a while, then why not add a month or two and start working on yourself first, so you can actually attract somebody who's on your level, which means somebody who also worked on himself. Even if you're not fully healed yet, having somebody who actually worked on himself makes it easier to keep working on yourself while being with that person and be able to share, because you have common grounds now. So you can say like, hey, I have this wound. I already worked on part of it, but I still have something. The person will understand you. You're like, okay, I respect that. So I will not do this or that, or just tell me what is a no-go, what do you really like, do we need a safe word, or how do you feel, how can I make you feel safe? And then it's a completely different conversation, completely different relationship. And you already see how I'm talking. I'm calmer because that's what happened in the relationship as well. You become calmer, so you have less conflict in everything you do. Most fights and conflicts come from wounds. A lot of them are sexual. That's why partners have attracted each other. But then most people don't know this, so they're not working on healing the wounds. They're just using the wounds and hitting each other with them. And yeah, it's sad. This period of lockdown is amazing. It's forcing so many people to actually go inwards. But it's also causing for a lot of people to break up because they're not going inwards. They're only pointing fingers at the others. And yeah, then you break everything, but you could also use it to start a conversation. Yeah, maybe uncomfortable. So what? It's already uncomfortable to be in the same house apparently, so why not just talk about it and put it out in the open, and but with respect, and agree on certain guidelines for the first communication. You will see, you will start making love again at a certain moment. Maybe you haven't made love for many years already, or since you had the kids. There's also something you see. Sudden disconnection once there is a kid on the way. Talk about it. Share. Maybe the woman feels unsafe to let the man penetrate her because she's carrying a child. It means she doesn't feel safe with the man during lovemaking. Maybe it's not lovemaking yet, maybe it's just sex. So talk about it. Open up. And you can make love till the last day of the pregnancy. And even after the pregnancy, maybe you're not allowed to penetrate for the first, I don't know, a few weeks or so. But hey, there's so much more that you can do. Just start by massaging each other, caressing each other, just hold each other. When I had a girlfriend who got pregnant by accident, and we really did everything what we could do, but still she got pregnant, and then she decided to have an abortion. I was there for a whole week, every evening, to take care of her. And we were really fucking like rabbits. But that week, nothing, no sex, but we're holding each other, caressing, just being together. And that was fine. So you can do it too. And it all comes back to being in your heart, caring. Just remember how your mom was holding you if you were not unlucky. Most people do have memories of one of their parents holding them with care and caressing them. Remember that. That is something you can experience again from a different energy, but it's the same caring. And that is what I wish to everyone to experience.
Okay, so how can they do that? How did they get there? You've spoken of an experience that you had. How do you facilitate that? Because most people, that's a very etheric kind of thing. So what do you do?
Now, like I said, I did one with the person on the phone. The first two that I got, first one was on the phone, the second one was in person. And lately I'm doing everything online or by phone. And we do it through a conversation, but with holding space. So starting with a meditation to relax. And then I guide the person to go to that space where they feel safe, and then slowly step towards where they feel unsafe, where they feel that there is the whatever thing they want to work on. And then I guide them through that step by step. And it's very intuitive. And like I said, it's different for every person, but that's how I work with people. And also one thing I do sometimes is not work specific on a woman, but just holding space for a woman to express herself, to express her creativity, to express her femininity, just by being present. And that holding space, just like what you're doing for me now to express myself, is also holding space. Sometimes you're just sitting and listening and being present. And if we would do only that already with each other, with our friends and with our relationships, wow, the world would be a different world. But in the sessions I do that too. And actually, people can book literally a session just for holding space. I don't even need to know what you're dealing with. You just need a man to hold the space with the sacred masculine so you can step in your sacred feminine. Ask. And if you have something you really want to deal with, ask. And we can sit down, or you can lay down with or without camera, and we'll go through the things. And it can be in one session, or depending on the subject, I would recommend to just do one healing session, or to have a few sessions, because there's also implementing what we've learned. Assuming that on day one you break through everything, and how you integrate that in your life. That's why I have the packages. So, because that's the most important thing. You can have a breakthrough, but if you don't know what to do afterwards, then you're like, and most people tend to go back to the old. And it's great when you have somebody who can actually help you integrate it in your daily life, how you move on from there. And so that's why I offer packages as well, to have that guidance. I mean, I was lucky to have a mentor for 10 years who was there when I would have my breakthroughs with him or with somebody else. I had somebody to go back to, but a lot of people don't have. When it comes to sexuality, it's really like, yeah, well, I would not go to my father, for example. My mom is not there, but I'm not sure I would go to her because we never really talked about sexuality. I was like, no, I do not masturbate. I told her at the age of 13, 14. No, mom, I don't do that. No. Liar. 5 times a day or so. But no, I was not. And it can be really safe to actually have somebody who's not within your environment. Somebody that you know will respect your privacy, will respect who you are, and may never show up in front of you suddenly, so you cannot have that like, oh, there's that person who knows these things about me. But probably if you have worked on everything, you will not even be afraid of that. You'll be like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. Wow, I'm feeling so great now. But up front, we may think like, oh, no, it needs to be very safe and well hidden. And that's okay. Just start like that. I started like that. And now I'm talking publicly about this, which I was really scared of a year ago. But then again, it was you, Paul, who actually gave me a push back then. And I remember we even had a live, which started with, global healing meditation with a group. We were 6 people, I think. And then we started talking, and we actually entered already the discussion into sexual energy and stuff like that. And so, I'm really grateful that you're making this possible for me. Just like I'm holding space for people, you're holding space for me here. So for those watching, he's doing the work for me so that I can actually make public what I'm doing, because I've only been working with people who just came to me, and I never have really spoken out what I'm doing. I mean, this is the most open that I have been speaking about this publicly. It was only when people would know me. So I know exactly what it means to be scared, to be ashamed, to be like, yeah, but what will my parents think? What will those people think? Yeah, well, I managed to shed all of that off. And it's an amazing feeling when you can feel free, when you can be simply yourself.
I think it's important that the people watching understand the freedom of being deeply open and vulnerable with somebody you hardly know, someone you can get an energetic feel for in their physical presence, maybe on a live like this or whatever, and that they can hold that space and they can feel it. And then you can make a choice to say, okay, I'm going to be really deeply vulnerable with this person. And a person that's chosen to be a healer or a way shower or a guide is going to be somebody that's just going to hold the space and let the expression happen and let the vulnerability come out, because those traumas that Lotfi was talking about in the lower chakras are all wounds, and we've judged ourselves bad, or society's judged ourselves bad, or they're so painful you don't want to touch them. But why? You go to a psychologist, you go to someone, and even then you're scared because all they're doing is desensitizing you. They're poking it and poking it and poking it until eventually you can just live with it, but they've never dealt with the root energy. And the root energy needs to have a held space because it defines you. And all of a sudden you're, by speaking about it with a person that has no judgment, no shame, no anything, they're just holding the space and witnessing you in your purity of expression. That could be screaming, that could be yelling, that could be crying, that could be an orgasm, that could be in any range, is the gift that we give to people. And to share that in front of another person and not give a damn whether or not they'll be your partner later, or they'll be your friend, or they'll whatever. And more than likely, if anything, you're going to grow even closer through that interaction, but not caring because none of the societal rules or the judgments come in, because that person is just professionally being there for you, holding that space, guiding you, asking you questions, saying, why does that hurt? Or being the shoulder to cry on when you're exploding in tears, is a space many don't even feel in marriage. Because marriage, we're protecting ourselves, we're vulnerable, we're creating armor so that our partner doesn't leave us because we think we're broken. But if you go to a person that doesn't see you in that way, just sees you as a being of light, of wounds, of suffering, of all these things, and we just hold space. And then you smash open to a million pieces, and we hold the container while you pick up the pieces that really matter, and you let the old ones go. And you just keep doing that. The processes of sacred sexuality that I talk about, getting people introduced into their orgasm just for themselves first. And you break into that container, but you don't really want to break out too much because you're scared you can't. But once you have a partner, you have somebody that's holding that space for you, you can break into a million pieces, boil like hot gold, and watch all your trauma lift off. These are all levels of the same thing. Lotfi's doing them in words and communication experiences. As you grow in intimacy with people that you can trust, or then have the ability to welcome people into your life that you can share them with physically, more and more levels happen. All of a sudden you boil and you burn and you purify yourself. And one day you're just shining because there's no trauma, there's no sadness, there's no holding back. You're fully all in. You're surrendered to life. You surrendered to your partner. And this magic thing happens. And we are the kind of, it's like the fire pit. It's got the rocks around the outside, and we start the tinder, and eventually you grow into a raging inferno. But somebody had to build the space and make it nice and soft, and with the pillows and all the fun, and then just tease it out and just say, oh, come on, let's talk. There's nothing you can say here that's gonna make me not love you. And then this container opens.
There's a lack of judgment.
No judgment whatsoever.
In the relationships, we still like, yeah, oh, but they may judge me. The friends, I mean, whatever relationship it is, there's always this judgment. But when we do this work, we don't judge.
At all. Because
it's our job not to judge, but also because we actually went through a lot of crap. And that's why we're doing the work. I attended this morning a training, coaching training, and the guy said, who has gone through a lot of shit? Oh yeah, I raised my hand. He said, good. Because that means you've learned a lot. And so all the crap I went through and that I suffered, I mean, I suffered immensely when it comes to sexuality. Pooh! But now I can say, thank you that I experienced all that, because it brought me to where I am today. And now I can use all that knowledge and those feelings to actually understand somebody else and know where they're coming from, even if it's not exactly the same thing, but it's about the feeling. And so there's no way I'm going to judge somebody now. I would be judging myself.
You start to see that you're a part of everyone, and all their wounds are in you as well. And you see from that self-awareness that we're all part of God, and to judge that thing that's a part of us in front of us would be judging ourselves, or three fingers judging ourselves. And we sit there in that humbleness and let it come. And I don't know how many times for me as a healer, I resonate exactly with what they had, maybe from the opposite experience, maybe from the whatever. And I'm learning in that sharing. I'll be emotional sometimes because I'm feeling fully that experience and knowing it's a collective experience. Hundreds of thousands and millions of people are having those same sad experiences of painting themselves into that box. And to witness it allows it to heal in me. And maybe it heals in the person you're working with. It's their choice. A wave goes out. More and more people are okay with that stuff. And that's the magic of sharing and working with another.
And the amazing thing is, being a man and working with women, and women generally have the trauma, let's say, because of a man. Let's blame the man for all the crap. You need actually a man to stand in front of you in his integrity. And sometimes I do apologize to the women as the man. So it's the male apologizing to the female for the hurting that we've done. But I also experience that the female is apologizing to the male for all the hurting, because it's not only men who have been hurting women, also vice versa. It's an interaction.
That wound can't exist if it's equal, unless it's equal and opposite. Men are getting angry at women for lying with their energy and all these things. So I'm agreeing. Keep going.
Yes. And when you're working with the opposite sex, you actually can reach the balance more easily. I'm not saying you should never work with a woman if you're a woman, but if you're working with a man, you also do get, and I get a lot of these questions like, okay, what does it mean when this guy is saying this to me or he's doing this? Me as a man, I recognize, I know, I because I connect during the conversation like, okay. So literally today I talked with a very close friend of mine and she was sharing things. I was like, whoa. And then that happened. Like, I felt the thing. I was like, okay, boundaries were crossed here. So I shared with her, and I also told her why the boundaries were crossed. It was not bad intentions from the guy, but that was a natural, the caveman behavior that came up, and the man also expressed to her afterwards that he felt the inner conflict because he's already on the healing path. So he's in the point that he already feels the inner conflict, like, oh, wait, there's these two sides. Oh, something is wrong here. And that's amazing. That's beautiful. And she also learned in that moment, like, oh, okay, so that happened. So and also when I talk with women sometimes, okay, when a woman is behaving this, can you explain to me how that is for a woman? Give me that other perspective. So it's amazing to actually have both genders talking. And that's why when I organize workshops, I love to work together with a woman, because then you have both genders, both energies fully present. And then you can get things go much faster. So if you're a man and you're watching this, you can work with me, you can work with Paul. Maybe you also want to work with a woman if you feel, maybe you don't feel safe yet with a woman, or like, yeah, but I may, okay, then start with a man, or start with a woman and then work with a man. But feel what really works for you, and try not to say, no, we'll not do this or that. No, because I work with women and with men, also for myself. My mentor was a man, and Paul is a man, and we have been working with each other already for a few years, and we learned a lot. And sometimes we can be tough for each other, holding mirrors. But here we are, because we moved forward. We learned a lot from each other, and we shared also, we learned from each other's experiences. And for what our teachers taught us, we shared with the others. So the sharing of experience and knowledge in a safe environment is crucial. You may not have that yet in your life. And start with somebody who's a professional, and then you will find people on your path, and you will be able to do it yourself. Because when you work with me, I'm teaching you how you heal yourself. I'm not going to fix you. I'm going to guide you so you become independent. You will not depend on me. You may come to me at a certain moment like, wow, now I have this thing, I have no clue how to deal with it. Of course, that's possible. But the goal is that we all become independent. Don't confuse independence with doing everything by yourself or being isolated, but you do the work yourself. You take ownership of your trauma, of your beliefs. You take responsibility for your actions, and then you work on yourself, and then you get the help where you need it. But it's your life. So it's empowerment. You empower yourself. You become your true self, who is strong, who is amazing at many different things. Not the guilty person, like certain belief systems say, or the stupid one, like maybe somebody told you that and you believe that. No, we all have gifts, and they are all connected to the connection from here. If you start from here, the gifts will start to come up.
I think there's a bunch of different things that need to be recognized. So first is, oh shit, no, I'm going blank. But okay, two things I want you to talk about. One, you talked before. Okay. Oh, geez, where's my brain? You talked
Stop
about
thinking,
the rift between.
just feel.
You talked about the rift between men and women earlier, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Facebook and social media about the patriarchy and all men are this and they're powerful, and I don't think women really take the time to understand that there's a lot of women behind those men that are supposedly powerful, that are manipulating. There are energies where you've equalized things. If anything, a lot of masculine have stepped into more feminine roles to allow women to have more masculine lives now. And it's really a bit of an insult to me as a man from the other side, where we're being blamed for the very things that they wanted to empower themselves because they weren't as fun or as enabling or whatever. I really think both sides have to understand we both got ourselves into this. I'm not blaming women, but there has to be an equal and opposite to every reaction. So women have to understand, when you're projecting heavily on men, all these things that men do bad and hurt women with and all that kind of stuff, there's just as many women that do it. There are men that are raped. There are men that are abused in family situations, but all that comes out in...
By women as well, not just by men.
Absolutely.
But society told us that it's something shameful, so you don't talk about it. So most men will not admit that they were raped by a woman or touched or whatever.
Absolutely. So what we really need is to climb down off our soapboxes, both of us, and start to understand and nurture. The woman has to either accept the man in his feminine and be masculine and allow that, and then quit complaining that the man's too soft or he's not strong enough or he's not the biker, or soften, nurture the man into being in his full masculine. Tell him it's safe, and I want you to boss me around, or I want you to stand in this, and he'll get all of a sudden empowered by that. And then a dance can start to happen and beauty can start to happen. But men have been beaten to hell about how bad they are and how they're a bunch of rapists, and they lead with
cycles.
And a cycle.
We've had 2,000-3,000 years of male domination.
Absolutely.
And so people who are born now say, oh, men have dominated and they're bad. Yeah, but what happened before?
It was
who wrote history? Yep. The people who won the war, who are in power. So if men are in power today, they will never write down that, oh, but we used to be the slaves of the women 3,000 years ago, because, oh, no, that's, I don't know, I'm not going to say that. Hey, that's simply ego. Just like a woman doesn't want to admit that she's submissive to the man. So the woman just tries to fight her way to the top. But if we stop blaming, stop going into victimhood and say, hey, I feel this way and I would like to resolve that, then there's a very high chance that the other person will say, I actually also feel in a certain way. And then suddenly you have communication.
And understanding.
And you have exchange.
Absolutely.
And yeah, there may be wounds, there may be pain. And I was in a session once with a friend of mine. She invited me, said, please come, because I feel I need a man now present in this healing. And at a certain moment, I just feel the need to go on my knees and apologize to the woman, but to the women in general, representing all the men. And I had no clue what was happening, but I just felt to do it. So I did it. And I only realized afterwards what really happened. And then my friend actually explained to both of us what happened there. And the lady really transformed. And her perception of men started to change. But she needed to be open to actually experience something. And that is where it starts with that first step. It's like, okay, and not from skepticism, but just like really give it a chance. Just like I gave it a chance today, like not to be afraid to go all out and speak publicly about everything that I'm doing and that I want to even promote myself and put on my website, because you're not going to find it on my website. I didn't manage to write down what I've been saying today. So that's why I asked Paul, please record. So I make sure he's recording. So actually I can look back and then write it down. Because of all that pressure from society, I wasn't able to formulate it, unless if I was in a one-on-one or so, somebody was asking me questions, and so I would feel safe. But to sit by myself and write it down, knowing that it would go on my website, that didn't feel safe. Where in this talk, Paul is actually helping me to feel safe here. And so I can do it. And that's exactly the interaction that we need more with sexuality, but also with other things in general, to hold space for each other so that we can step into our strength or express what we feel, our concerns, our joy, our desires, our wishes, our dreams. I mean, isn't that what we experience with our parents, generally with our mother, that we can go and ramble on and tell them what we wish to do one day when we are big. And yeah, the mother is just there holding the space for you and sitting there and maybe visualizing, wow, my son or my daughter would become like that. Oh, wow, that would be cool. Wow, if you like that, yeah. And the parents will generally not tell you, especially when you're little, like, that's impossible. Like, oh, if you want to do that, of course. And everything is possible. Men have walked on the moon, they say. I don't know. I mean, people are driving electric cars and there are flying cars already being tested. So anything you imagine is going to come when I mean, flip phones, flip devices that you can talk with to somebody else. Back in the 70s, there was a Star Trek like, oh, haven't we had flip phones, all of us? And now we have smartphones, we have video call in our hands. Somebody thought of it, and many people say, crazy. Everything is possible. I dreamed of flying an airplane myself, piloting. I did it. Literally, the guy took his hand over, like, Lotfi, you're in control now. And had two friends sitting in the back, like, It was amazing. It was a dream from since I was little. Came true. I wanted to have a nice stereo with big speakers and good amplifiers so I can really play the music I love to play and really feel the vibrations. I have it. I got it. It was a dream of mine from when I was little, because certain people was looking up to have that. So everything is possible. Just be open to receive and be ready to take the steps from here, not from here, but from here, what you feel, the steps you need to take to change what you want to change, or to step into what you want to be in. Being free, being happy, being joyful, having more love in your life, which starts with loving yourself first. Again, that's a connection with the self. Whatever is you desire, it's all possible. Just look around you. All those successful people, most of them started with nothing. But they had a goal and they worked towards it. Some people worked their asses off, and some people did it in a smooth, fun way, in a playful way. You choose which way you want. If you believe you need to suffer, be free, go suffer. I believe things can go more smoothly if you follow your intuition. Then you know exactly what to do. Even if the whole world said, no, but this is a system. Well, this is a system until somebody does it otherwise and succeeds as well. And then, oh, that's also possible. So why are you not that person? And we will see more and more of that.
Okay, so I wanted to go back. You spoke of the rift between men and women. I wanted to say one thing that I don't think most women realize, and I'm going to want you to broaden. You talked about being in the friend zone before, and it was an energy that wasn't fully expressed but needs to be understood. I don't think women really fathom the apology that most men are giving with their energy 24/7 in their whole entire life, in the way we kind of carry women and apologize to them, and we sit small and we don't talk about our stuff, and those few little things where men break down and their sexual energy gets the best of them. They send a dick pic or they ask for sexuality because they're so completely in lack. They've been completely trying to support with their energy and being soft and being loving, while the woman had her masculine experience. And then that very same woman will judge that man and just pultrify everything that he's done and everything he's done to be nice, and make him feel even smaller. And then the women,
That's acting from the wound.
Exactly. And then they just keep insulting that we're not being stronger, but we've never been given permission to be stronger. And that's what women need to really understand, and to feel from a man's heart that spent his whole life, I know you did as well, loving women, trying to be nice to them, give them what they want, shifting ourselves, twisting ourselves to try and be that thing that they don't even know what it is, instead of us being given permission to be open and to be ourselves, and to then respond to us with consent, yes or no, this feels good or this doesn't feel good. Because I don't know how to be fully a man. There isn't a father in my life that taught me the manhood that people want. There isn't other masculine figures other than, who are some of the guys that people used to like? Magnum PI, Tom Selleck, and he's the with the car and the helicopter. And what is a man? MacGyver. He's some kind of soft guy that fixes shit with the band-aids and toothpicks. Look at the male figures that we have, or Robert De Niro's or whatever, and they're just killers and rampaging all over the place. We have no good male role models. So the woman is that nurturer. She's got to be the mother for a second and just say, okay, you have some wounds, cry for me, or let me hold you while you do that. And then say, I want to see you shine. I want you to be my rock. I want you to hear me. But no, they want us all to evolve and fix ourselves and be this magic thing that hasn't existed for several hundred years. As men, we have been.
But the same for the women.
Absolutely.
I mean, both of them, both of us, we do not have a proper example to follow. Absolutely. Except for some people who really went through the work. And I mean, I can talk for myself when I say the women who came on my path helped me to get where I am today. And there are still women in my life who are teaching me from their experience and mirroring me and sharing how what I'm saying or doing, how that makes them feel. So that's how I learn. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful for having these amazing friends in my life for the past 9 years now, that I have a new group of friends where there are women who are actually are not judging me, because there's where it starts out with judging. But so they're not judging, and you're just sharing how I make them feel when I say things, when I do things. Mm-hmm. And they also let me be myself to just see where things are going. Uh-huh. So I can discover, but they're doing the same with me. Uh-huh. So they can also discover, like, okay, what does a man actually want? What is really man? Because I did not know what sacred masculine meant. I knew there was a theory. Uh-huh. I had no clue. I could not describe it at all. I could describe a certain moment, the sacred feminine, because of the feminine that was present in my life. So that's how I learned that first part. And then I was lucky. There was a woman who came on my path and said, okay, Lotfi, do you want to join my course? There's going to be another guy in there, and I want to work with you too. You're going to be my guinea pigs. It's my first time I'm training, but I believe I know what to do. And I just felt like, yeah, this is right. And so the guy and we learned a lot in that, and she was encouraging us to stand in our masculinity. Mm-hmm. And that's how I started to learn more, and then interacting with other women again. And that's how I managed to finally find and come to a point like, now I get it. Now I know what it means. Don't ask me to make a perfect formulation, like this is the definition. It's a feeling inside, and I can guide you to that feeling. But for that, you need to connect with me so I can let you feel that. So it's going to be partially verbal, partially non-verbal. But that is when you actually not, oh, okay. And that's one of the things I want to do in workshops, is actually to, this idea came already many years ago, that I would be on stage with a group of people and would just let the group, the room feel things just by transmitting the energy. And that's how people say, oh yeah, this is something I want. And then they would know what they would work towards to. Because if you don't know that an apple pie is, or an apple is delicious, I need to let you taste it first. And then you know, like, okay, next time I go to the market, I buy apples. But if you go to the market tomorrow and you have never tasted an apple, you see apple is just something laying there, you have no idea what it is, so you just walk by it. Like we walk by a lot of products because we have no clue what they are. And that is one of the things I really want to do. And I can also do it online, to work with the energy. And I'm doing it already when I work with people one-on-one or in small groups. I want to do it for big groups, to really let people feel, because then you like, ah, there is something I didn't know, or there's something that feels good. Now I want to get the direction. And to coming back to this polarity in society.
Just one question before you go
Yeah.
deeper. Could you have learned that by yourself or in a group of men? All those things that you just talked about. It required the divine feminine.
No, I needed the feminine.
And a foil. Yes.
I needed the feminine to have the polarity and the energy go forth and back.
For
so
women,
in my relationships with my girlfriends and with my women friends.
So how insane is that, to expect a woman to evolve fully without men, or to have men evolve fully without women? It's a partnership. We have to start opening. We have to go into that fear that maybe something will go wrong, or it'll go the same way as before, but communicate this time. Be vulnerable. Say what you're feeling. Invest in that time. And that's what approaching a person that's a healer, that has these evolved versions already built from their own experience, you can speed that up 1,000-fold. You can come in and I will hold a woman in her sacred feminine. You're very masculine right now. What's going on? I can feel it. You can feel it. And we can help adjust that and get us back on track. Or you can pick a partner that you want to trust and just say, I'm not marrying you right now. We're not going to put all those things on it, but I want to get into relationship with you. And I want to be really deep. And nobody's allowed to run away. For 3 months, we're going to invest in looking at all the dirty, messy stuff so that nobody runs away. And a magic can happen. You can find your polarity. You can find a mixed polarity. Anybody can be anything if you allow it. But people need to understand you can't do this sitting in a little cocoon in your corner, because you need that feedback. You need that fire. You need that mirror to say, uh-oh, something's off. You're being too feminine, or you're being too masculine. I want you to be this way, or I feel better when you're this way, and it makes me feel safer. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, what's this beautiful feeling in my heart? This woman is blossoming in front of me because I've held a space for her and I didn't judge her. I didn't fix her. I didn't say the things that screw it up. That's the dance. That's the fun. That's the play of this new intimacy. So we got about 5 more minutes here, so I want to start wrapping up. But did you want to complete on that other topic? Or did I lose your train of thought? Sorry.
No. I just want to encourage people to take a moment to just feel within themselves. I'm going to just talk to the honest. Feel within yourself what your deepest desire is. And if that has to do something with connecting with people in whatever way, then tell yourself and tell the universe, I want this to evolve. I want to learn more. And people will come on your path, whether Paul or me or other people will come on your path, who will be able to guide you. And like I said at the beginning, it can be very safe to work with somebody that you're paying, and there is the safe distance, and it's a professional who's going to guide me. There are no expectations from both sides. I mean, I also tell people, don't have too many expectations, because you have no, even if you think that this is your problem, we may find something that's underlying, because I always go back to the root source, and the root source we generally don't see. It's in our blind spot. And then from there, things will open up. And before you know it, you have different people on your path, different kinds of relationships, both the intimate and the more casual. It's just a choice that you have to make, to choose for yourself, for your own happiness.
So what Lotvi has spoken of holding space for a person is also a shamanic principle. Both of us, I know for sure, are what we call hollow bones in shamanism. So we basically hold space, and at least in my experience, I let your higher self come through me. I don't actually heal. I sit here in this very relaxed state, and words and actions and questions will come through me. It's just like a fire that pops in and says, poof. And it's literally not me. And I'll find stuff to poke you sometimes that just withers into that spot, and it finds it and it opens, and a little fire, emotion, exhaustion, or whatever will show up. It's not actually me. I don't even have to plan for a session anymore. I just sit, I hold space, I let them talk, and this natural flow starts, and these questions come out of me, and these energies, and maybe it's a hug, maybe it's a energy, it's all these energies that are exactly what you need, and it intuitively comes through me. So you're literally working with yourself. So you're just,
yes, because the higher self of the client who's communicating to us what needs to be said, what needs to be triggered, because it's not the mind anymore that's involved. It's like really the higher consciousness that's helping the human, the you, to evolve.
And the only person that knows that is your higher self, not me. I'm not reading your mind or having some ESP about you. I'm a conduit. It comes through me. The words, the actions, the feelings in my body are all for you.
Yeah, and that's why the people react like, oh yeah, you're so right. I'm like, if you say so, I have no clue. It just came out. And I used to be shocked. So I'm like, oh, what did I just say? And then people are like, oh yeah, you're. So I learned. I had to learn this on the go, but it's just something that you just say. And so I created a service called Soul Answers, where people are really looking for this question that they cannot find an answer to. That I decided, okay, so because I'm doing this, so exactly what you just described. So I'm like, okay, let's call this a session, and then somebody can come with a question, and that's how I do. And I remember once the answer was literally, stop looking for answers outside of yourself. You have all the answers in you. So go sit in silence.
But most of us won't
and
listen.
The person was like, yeah, you're right. So I was probably the last one that person paid for help, because the person had already everything that the person needed, just needed to sit with himself.
And I don't think people realize your higher self speaks to you in your own voice. It sounds like your mind. How often do you disavow your mind? Sometimes the stuff is gold the minute it comes through another person. And that's where the purity of a session comes in, when there's a cost to the session. It's not something that's just freely given and you can just toss away. When there's an exchange, it's money for this time to spend, to have the purest interaction. If I got to worry about money and my food and keeping a house and all those kind of things, I can't be that pure connection for you. So that exchange allows this pureness to pass through me. And you're going to take an advice of something that you paid for far more than something that's been given freely. So it's very hard to be in a friendship and just give people guidance, because a lot of times it'll just go in one ear and out the other ear, and there was really no value shared. But when there's a session, a time spent, and you're honoring that, you're going to get the most value in that time, because you're giving something in response for something to be exchanged, and you're going to value it the amount of money that you valued. And there's some people that run around and say sessions should be $1,000 because I give value. No, it doesn't have to be about that. Give some money in the session, and everything else shows up in a different way for us. It's like abundance shows up in more clients and more people showing up in our life, or more love, or people give us food, or a place to stay that's not expensive. That's the balance of the whole universe. Everybody's doing their little piece, and this beautiful offering comes, and we're all allowed this beautiful offering. Honestly, what I want to have sessions someday, I don't even want to charge for sessions. I want people to give money back after, like, holy shit, I got $1 million job afterwards, or whatever, because we did that session. We shared that thing and some values exchanged, and then you'll pay from the abundance that you received. And it's only a fraction of what it is. And then I don't have to say, okay, well, even though you can't afford it, you got to charge. No, just have that state of mind and say, when something huge comes into my life, I'm going to give back to the world. And the money that would even come to me wouldn't go into me. It would go into building my Living Your Light and my Awakening Through Sexuality communities so I could give it to more people. And that's the
I literally had that happening a few years back, just before going on holiday back to Holland. Somebody came to me in a session and started putting bills on the table. I was like, that's more than the session. Like, I don't know how many sessions. Yeah, this is your part. Yeah, well, you helped me, and now I mean, that person resolved the whole issue with an inheritance or so, and gave me a percentage of that. Because I helped the person, and that's because the transformation of the person could actually deal with that whole issue, and a lot of money came, and I was like, wow. And exactly like you said, I used that money to make a lot of people happy. Because I went to Holland, bought things, but I brought back, and I started sharing with people all that joy. So that person sharing part of the inheritance with me actually resulted in a lot of people being really happy. And it's like the poor people do in poor countries, where everyone comes with that little thing they have of food, and they sit at that table, or they sit on the ground with a piece of cloth, and everyone puts in front of him that little bit that the person has. But if you look, there's a lot there. And I use this example very often because about the sharing. So you only had this one thing, but you ate a lot of different things, because you could taste from all the little things that other people had. So in the end, you tasted 10 different things. Well, you only had one thing at the start, but you did an exchange with people.
And if you look at it from our perspective, it's a tree of life. We're making leaves bloom on each level, and then those leaves turn into branches, and then they bloom other levels. And that gift that we've given them goes out to every partner, like the sexuality work that I do, to heal that sexuality in that woman, to help her know the divine feminine feeling, the masculine feeling, and how she feels present and how she feels safe. She's now going to use that with every partner she has in her life going forward, and hold him to that same high standard. And then I'm healing men just by healing women. That is a gift of life. I would love to give it freely, but I still have bills to pay. I still have money to pay. I haven't perfected my process. But as we keep doing that, we're changing the world, not because we're changing those people or forcing them. We're giving them the space for them to find themselves, to heal themselves, to come to this better place. And you talked about that energetic experience where you stand in the stadium and everybody gets it. We are an energetic experience. And just by working with us, you're going to get the wisdom of the vibration of us figuring this shit out for ourselves. In everything we're going to talk about, in every vibration, every smile, every light is a transmission, and they're going to get it. If you've been
watching till now,
go ahead.
The people who have been watching till now, they know exactly what we're talking about, because something happened already. I know for a fact that if you've been watching this whole show, something happened.
Absolutely.
So that's already your first gain, and from there on, you can take that next step. But it was already a step to decide to watch. And then to stick till the end. And I know a lot of people don't do that because they're, but I have to, and I'm in a rush, I'm so busy. But that's also part of the process, just to sit in peace.
Well, this was a healing session. How many times did you go and talk about how you felt and the energy, and you got soft and you got calm? Everybody felt that energy, and they got grounded to that, and they got a piece of Latvi, and they got a piece of me, and they got a piece of everything, and that combined experience is transformative. And
they also got a piece of the women who have helped us and the men who have helped us.
Absolutely. And we didn't sit here the whole time and say, I'm a healer, come see me, I'm really good. No, we said, here's all I am, and come share this with me, and I will gladly have an experience of you, and you can have an experience of me, and we'll be better for it.
And then go on and share with others.
Absolutely.
Again, with your partner, with your friends, or maybe you decide to become also a healer, or I mean, not a healer, because we're not healing, we're just guiding people, we're facilitating, we're facilitators. And I mean, I was inspired by my mentor, actually. To become a coach was because I learned so much from him, I was at a certain moment like, wow, I would be a really fucking egoist if I would keep all this to myself. I need to share this because I benefited so much from it. I mean, I really came from very far. With that guy, it was 10 years, but I made such a big step. I was like, okay, I wish this to so many people. So I need to share this. I need to start to share and share and share, just like he was sharing with me. And that's how the coaching started. It's about sharing. And that's how you and I started talking a few years back, just by sharing. And then we started working with each other. And what we learned from each other, we transmitted and taught to other people. And what I'm sharing here today is also because, again, other people shared with me. So it's all, we are all connected in the end. That's what means we are all connected.
Absolutely.
On a certain level, of course, you can say we focus, we can connect with everyone, but if that is too far, just start with this. We're all connected because of all the different interactions that we have.
Let's start wrapping up. We went way far past our 5 minutes, but any closing remarks?
Go in here and you know exactly what to do.
Beautiful.
That's it. And if you want to find me, intuitiv.me, but I think Paul already put it there. And you can also see where you can find Paul. So, and if you need a woman, then be free.
Talk to us. We know lots of women that we worked with and that are also healers. So this happens to be a masculine share in this video, but we have a whole community of people that we interact with that are feminine, masculine, etc. So I think we got to see Lotfi in a very beautiful, calm space. He got very deeply in his heart and he shone from it, and that was very beautiful to witness. He's got a lot of love, he's got a lot of experience and things he wants to share to people that will change their lives if they so want. He's really a very complex person in the number of experience he's had, but he's simplified himself very purely and went back to his heart, and he's had those that he can all build off of and have compassion from, and all these facets all came together to make this perfect person that can be a conduit for people, can hear, understand, be empathic, be compassionate, to really hold a divine space. So just look him up and watch this video again. There's so much healing stuff going on in the background of these things. We talked on so many topics. Just sit with it. Sit with the tone of Lotfi's voice. Sit in the passion of my voice on some of the things, and you're going to find there's little gifts in there. And that's what we do all the time. We have these lives, we have these sessions, and we talk. And we just want people to catch that same, it's kind of like a spark that goes into the heart and it starts your grass on fire, and things start to smolder and change starts to happen. And then one day you decide, holy shit, I need a session, or I really liked what was talking there. And maybe you call us or you call somebody else you trust. And that fire spreads into the world and it burns off all the things that no longer serve. And you find this calm, beautiful space in yourself of exactly who you want to be. And it's a gift that we can give. And it's a gift that we witness and see the people that we love, because we literally love the people after they've shared, because there's really no other place to go afterwards. There's never any judgment. I've never had a client that I don't feel a deep love for afterwards, like unconditional love, just witnessing them. So the experience is much deeper than just going to a healer or fixing yourself or whatever. It's an energetic shift. And we'd love to work with you. I'd love you to look up Lotfi. He can work anywhere in the world. He works on Romanian time, so it has to be a slightly different schedule. And I'm in North America.
So I'm very flexible. I don't go to sleep too early, so
okay.
Sometimes I live on LA time.
Yes, 3 a.m. his time, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing not sleeping? But anyways. So I want to thank you very much, Lotfi, for what you shared. It was a blessing.
Thank you too for holding the space. I really appreciate this.
Most welcome.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. And thank you.
It was empowering. And that's what we're doing, actually. We actually did a demonstration here of how we work,
Absolutely.
holding space for each other and empowering each other.
Absolutely. Beautiful. And it looks like a couple people sat through the whole video, which is beautiful. I'm just watching Facebook once in a while. We've had up to 5 or 7 a few times. And thank you for sitting through all of it. And if you want to put in the comments what you felt, how the experience was, that would be great feedback for us. Or if you want more information on anything we discussed, put them in there. And this stuff I'm sure that Lotfi will put up on his YouTube page and some of those things as well. So I'll collect all that.
Yeah, I will share the video on my YouTube page. On my yeah.
I don't
send me the recording.
I don't have. I'll send you the recording. I don't have all your YouTube channels in one place, so if you can just put it.
Oh no, it's okay. Just type intuitiv.me, and Paul already wrote it there, so you know how to spell it, and then it's fine. Or maybe I can even show it to you. Hold on. So this is how it's spelled.
Okay. Yep. Perfect. Freeze the screen.
So that's how. Yeah, that's how you find me everywhere.
Okay.
On LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter. I think even Instagram. Not that I do much there. I only like stuff from others, but that's how you find me. Also on YouTube. You just type that, and then you'll see my face. And
absolutely. Most of my stuff is here on my Facebook page, or the Awakening Through Sexuality page, or the Living Your Light page. They're all on YouTube or on Facebook. Sorry. Anyways, thank you all. Thank you for attending. Loving everybody, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.